I thought I had exhausted all my video ideas when it comes to JoJo's, but there was one thing, one subject very crucial to the initiation of all JoJo's fans that I had never spoken about. The best stands in the series. I've never talked about it. That's a video I promised to make, and finally, I've conjured up a list of my top 5 favorite stands in each JoJo's part, starting with Stardust Crusaders. Now, Stardust Crusaders introduced stands into the series, so given that fact, the stands in part 3 are a little bit more rudimentary, I suppose, a little bit more basic, and basic is relative because there's not really anything basic in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Kicking off my top 5 favorite stands in Stardust Crusaders, I have Silver Chariot. The way I view Silver Chariot is as if it's the Tim Duncan of stands in JoJo's. It's pretty fundamental, there's no flair to it, not really a lot of style, not flashy. Some would argue it's boring, however, the fact of the matter is it gets the job done. It sounds like I'm dunking on one of my favorite stands in Stardust Crusaders, but I promise I like it. There is a little bit more than meets the eye when it comes to Silver Chariot. Obviously, I'm not including the Requiem version. There was some intricacies to how Polnareff used Silver Chariot by like popping off the armor pieces and stuff like that. Just a solid stand overall. Granted, I do think that there's a pretty wide gap between Silver Chariot and the next stand that I have up, but one thing you'll notice about Stardust Crusaders is that a lot of the greatest stands in Stardust Crusaders were given to the main characters, and in my opinion, that's made apparent by my number 4th pick, my number 4 favorite stand in Stardust Crusaders, Magician's Red. The first stand in the series that we're introduced to, and oh, is it a dang good one. My only issue with Magician's Red, and this is such a non-factor because the only problem with it is the fact that we didn't get to see Avdol use it as much as I think he should have. And number 3, my 3rd favorite stand in Stardust Crusaders, I have Hierophant Green by Kakyoin. Shocker, another member of the main cast. I know a lot of people would probably have Magician's Red above Hierophant Green, but when it comes to fights in anime, I suppose I do have my own preferences as to what I like to see, and I'll tell you, something I like to see is a fight that shows off good execution, prep time, tactical uses of ability, you name it. I just love when a fight in anime requires a little bit of thinking, a little bit of brain power. And Hierophant Green, I mean, for the longest time in Stardust Crusaders, he was just kind of spamming that Emerald Splash, and Emerald Splash is cool, but the thing that puts Hierophant Green above and beyond something like Magician's Red, in my opinion, is the minefield that Kakyoin set up versus Dio. That was pure just brilliance. And the fact that Hierophant Green is such a versatile stand that it allows Kakyoin to use it in that way is the reason it's so high up on my list. I like it. But at number 2, it's everything I said, just throw it out the window. Wow, this is like the complete opposite. This is about as ignorant of a stand as you can get. I have Cream at number 2. You remember all that talk about being tactical and using brain power and being smart and having setup? No, how about a stand that just kind of vanquishes you from existence? How about if this stand just touches you, you just die, okay? Like, why do we have to think? We don't need prep time. I feel like the biggest hypocrite in the world right now. But on the complete flip side of literally everything that I just said, I do like Cream because it's so straightforward. It's probably the most evil stand. If I had to say, well, I rescind that statement. I take that statement back. But there's not many stands that can match the feeling of just impending doom as Kareem. Anyways, my number 1 spot is a 2-way tie. I know, I'm a cop out. It's The World and Star Platinum. Give me some leeway here. Like, that has to be fair. That's fair game. I think The World has better sound effects. Duh. Like, The World might be the best sounding stand in all of JoJo's. I like Star Platinum's design a whole lot more. Star Platinum also has like the hyper precision and stuff like that. We saw it draw a mosquito all the way in Egypt. So the stand is pretty much just, hey, whatever you need me to do. Stop time? Okay. The ability to stop time is why I have it up here, without a doubt. But now we move on to Diamond is Unbreakable, and I feel like for the most part, stands get more unique as the parts go along. I think Superfly is a great example of that, and while not in my top 5 favorite stands in Diamond is Unbreakable, I wanted to give that stand a shout out. But at number 5, I have Heaven's Door, and I feel like Heaven's Door is the perfect stand to give to a bad guy. I think being able to peer into somebody's mind and be able to extract information from somebody like that, like conceptually, that is a brilliant stand. It was given to a good guy though. It was given to Rohan, and I'm only talking about these stands in a vacuum. I'm not factoring in whether I like the character or not, but this stand had so much potential, and while Rohan was able to tap into some of that potential using Heaven's Door, I almost feel like this stand would have been cooler in the hands of an evil person. But at number 4, I have Echoes, and Echoes is such a unique stand. It's obviously the one that Koichi has. I don't think there's another stand in JoJo's that evolves in the same manner that Echoes does. My favorite version of Echoes is Echoes Act 3, where the stand is able to kind of manipulate the weight of something, like we saw it in the Kira fight, but the evolutionary process of the Echo stand is why I like it so much. At number 3, 3, I have Crazy Diamond. When I talked about Heaven's Door, I mentioned tapping into the potential of a stand. I don't think that there is a single stand in JoJo's that was used better than Crazy Diamond. I think a lot of that is, of course, Josuke is a great user of Crazy Diamond, but you have to be a pretty versatile stand in order to do all the things that Crazy Diamond did. Throughout Diamond is Unbreakable, we find out that Crazy Diamond can heal people, it can change somebody's appearance, it can create homing missiles, it can track somebody. And it's a blessing that this stand was given to Josuke, of course, because the main character is the character that we see most out of anybody in any given part. So of course, if there's any character in JoJo's that's going to tap into the potential of a stand, it's going to be the main characters. And given that fact, I think it's pretty reasonable for this stand to be in my top 3. But while we're talking about potential, let's talk about the potential man of stands himself, The Hand, which is my second favorite stand in all of Diamond is Unbreakable. Do we have feats? Do we have moments with this stand? Not really. We just kind of know what it does. Kind of just swipes its hand at something and erases something from the universe and sends it into another realm that we just have no idea what it's about. I wanted to see Okuyasu swipe somebody away from existence, send them off into a separate realm, never to be seen again. Unfortunately, the reality of it for the Hand fans is that the coolest thing that happened with this stand is that, you know, Okuyasu erased a bubble. Cool, I guess. I mean, what is the extent of the hand? This thing could have possibly erased half of the planet. Could have erased the entire planet. We don't know. Like, we'll just never know with this stand. But granted, I think that given that, even though Okuyasu didn't really show us what the hand can do, I think a lot of people realize the hand is pretty broken regardless. And then number 1, of course, I mean, it had to be Killer Queen. This stand is like the epitome of fear and doom and impending death. Turning anything into a bomb, I feel like that's about as straightforward as you can get with a stand. But then you have Sheer Heart Attack, which is an absolute juggernaut of a bomb. And after Kira got pierced by the stand arrow, now you have Bites the Dust. This might be the most versatile stand in the entire series. And it's not just the fact that Kira has so many abilities at his disposal, but it's also the fact that Killer Queen is the first stand in the series to not just feel like a power that's used by the stand user, but feels like its own individual character. It feels like an accomplice to Kira. And we see a couple stands after kind of mimic this formula where they themselves feel like individual characters more so than just powers. I love that concept. I think that's utter brilliance from Araki as a writer. And I think that that's why stands is arguably the greatest power system ever. And I think Killer Queen exemplifies that to perfection. I love this stand. But while we're on the same topic of stands feeling like their own individual characters, my 5th favorite stand in Golden Wind is Sex Pistols. This was a stand that when I first got done watching Golden Wind, I was like, I don't really know how I feel about it. I don't really think I like it that much. And then I rewatched Golden Wind a little bit, and I was realizing how in the early stages of Golden Wind, Sex Pistols really felt like its own individual character alongside Mista. And it brought its own form of comedic relief. Even like, I don't even think the power is all that interesting. The stand itself is not just a mere power, but feels like its own character. And with Sex Pistols, it's not just one character, it's 6 of them. And for that reason, I feel like I kind of overhated Sex Pistols when I first watched Golden Wind, but now, like, when I rewatch a couple episodes, yeah, I really like it. My 4th favorite stand in JoJo's, I have Aerosmith. I feel like I irrationally like this stand a whole lot more than most people because, I mean, it's my favorite stand name in the series, but I think it's such a different stand because most stands tend to be humanoid in nature. Naranja's is a literal plane that will track you down using carbon dioxide and just shoot you down. I think that's so cool. Obviously, the ability to track people is what we saw the most out of Aerosmith as a stand, but Aerosmith had some pretty good fights. Overall, I think that Aerosmith has uniqueness, utility, a great name, great fights, and in my opinion could arguably be higher on this list, but ultimately this is where I decided to have it. So my 3rd favorite stand in Golden Wind is Sticky Fingers. It's a lot more standard and straightforward than Aerosmith, but standard and straightforward can be good, and I think that this is one of those examples. We really see it used in 2 main ways. The first one is zippering all over the place, setting a zipper down and jumping into the zipper to traverse area. The second is literally unzipping people, unzipping humans. That's why I like this stand. It's almost silly in a sense, and I think that's the beauty of it. I feel like JoJo's, you almost have to embrace the silliness of it all. Something like Sex Pistols, guns are inherently dangerous. Something like Aerosmith, a fighter plane is dangerous. And then you get to Bruno and you have Sticky Fingers, and zippers are just such an innocuous item to make a stand out of, but it works. My number 2 is Purple Haze, and if you couldn't tell by now, there's something about stands that are just unique in their own way that I love. And being a stand that spreads a deadly virus in and of itself is cool. But where I really love Purple Haze is the fact that it even affects the user. That is such a cool concept to me because you have this incredibly just, I don't want to say broken because it's not broken. You just have this, it's just dangerous. Like, it's just reckless. That's all it is. Fugo doesn't even use it with strategy. He's just as scared as anybody. He's just like, don't go near that thing. It comes back to these stands that take a personality of their own and become bigger than just a power. But at number 1, I have King Crimson. This was a stand that I felt like at first, I'm like, am I stupid? But it's one of the most in-depth stands in the entire series, in my opinion. Diavolo is able to see up to 10 seconds in the future. He is able to manipulate and maneuver himself within those 10 seconds however he pleases. But to anybody not named Diavolo, it doesn't even feel like time has passed. One split second to the next, and in that moment, Diavolo has already maneuvered himself out of the situation. It's about as tactical of a stand as you can get. It's not even like an incredibly like offensive stand, but he's able to create an empire with that. And to top it all off, King Crimson is also one of those stands that feels like their own character. Before we knew what Diavolo looked like, before we were introduced to Doppio, we would only see the stand talking. We would look at the stand as the face in the shadows. That's epic. That's beyond a shadow of a doubt my favorite stand in Golden Wind. But moving on to Stone Ocean, I feel like this one might have the most unorthodox picks. Number 5, I have Stone Free. I don't know what people think about Stone Free as a stand. I don't think Stone Free is as beloved as Crazy Diamond or Star Platinum, but I think it's great. What I primarily love about Stone Free as a stand is the fact that it's a part of Jolene's body. Because if it wasn't for that characteristic of the stand, we wouldn't get that awesome moment with the Mobius strip. That's one of the coolest moments in the series to me. And it's because Stone Free is such a great stand. I love string users in anime because typically string users can't brute force their way through a fight. They usually require some finesse to come out on top in a fight, which leads to those epic moments like the Mobius strip. That's why I like Stone Free. At number 4, my 4th favorite stand in Stone Ocean, I have Weather Report. This is one of those stands that just by the name you can tell what it does, and yeah, it's about as broken as it sounds. I think weather manipulation as a power is interesting because typically when you see power systems in anime, you know, you have a fire user, a water user, sand user, whatever it may be. Even in JoJo's itself, of course, you have the basic elemental stands. But when you're able to manipulate weather, now you have a lot of these elements like water or being able to create hurricanes just baked into your stand by default. I mean, Weather Report is able to use weather conditions as niche as Frog Rain. I'd go as far as to say that it's arguably the most versatile stand in the entirety of Stone Ocean. But as for my 3rd favorite stand in Stone Ocean, I have Dragon's Dream. Dragon's Dream is the Feng Shui stand, and Feng Shui kind of deals with the idea that good positioning can lead to good energy, good luck, good fortune, good health. Hence why the entire fight of Dragon's Dream versus FF is trying to position yourself in a spot where you do have that good fortune. Is that not one of the most creative powers you've ever seen in anime? Like, I've seen powers that deal with the concept of luck in anime before, but never like this where it deals with positioning, and certainly never with a dragon that doesn't even get along with its user. In execution, this is one of the most creative stands in the entire series. And then you factor in that it also has one of the funniest personalities out of any stand in the yeah, I mean, no brainer, it would be in my top 3. I really like this stand. At number 2, I have Made in Heaven, the stand that literally reset the universe. How could I not have this stand up here? I'm gonna say something about Made in Heaven that I haven't really been bringing up much, but this might be my favorite stand design in the entire series. It's that good. This stand accelerates time to anything that is not living. The stand is not only fast, it gets continuously faster, so much so that the universe come on. Are there many other stands in JoJo's that can do that? This stand, if nothing else, is the final boss. That feat alone is arguably the best moment in all of JoJo's, so I think that this is fair. But my favorite stand in Stone Ocean, I don't know how this is gonna go over with you guys. I have Foo Fighters. You know how I like my stance to be more than just powers. I like my stance to have personality. Well, this stand is literally a character. I just like stands that there's nothing like it. It's so brilliant how Araki made a power system, yet so many powers within that power system are just completely different from one another. Foo Fighters is a colony of plankton that becomes one of the best characters in Stone Ocean. I'm trying not to factor in the fact that I like Foo Fighters as a character, but the fact that the stand itself is a colony of plankton that is able to mesh together and form its own character is just, it's awesome in it of itself. Foo Fighters took stands to a whole nother level, in my opinion, and I wonder if we're gonna see anything like that in the future. But as for my top 5 favorite stands overall, at 5 I have Cream, 4 I have Star Platinum, at 3 I have The Hand, at 2 I have Killer Queen, and in number 1 I have King Crimson. I didn't always have King Crimson number 1, but I've come along to it. It's the best stand in JoJo's. It's so cool. What a great power system. I'm so excited to see what the stands are like in Steel Ball Run. If you've made it this far, please let me know what are your top 5 stands in JoJo's, or maybe even your top 5 stands in every part if you want to go the extra mile. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and make sure to have a good rest of your day, everybody. Take care, everyone.